Welcome to the Mind and Body Performance Podcast. I'm your host, Jake Murphy. Today's guest, Daniel Linares, is an entrepreneur, marketing expert, and founder of DLE Event Group. In this episode, we're diving into overcoming fear, building a strong mindset, and the lessons that shape us along the way. Let's get into it. Daniel, thank you for being here. I'm super inspired by your journey. Within our first conversation, something that I really like about you is you're pretty much done exactly what I'm inspired to do. You know, as far as growing a family, growing a business, clearly you work on yourself and you're super dedicated to your self-improvement journey as well and constantly learning. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation and kind of getting to learn a little bit more. You know, I know that after the last conversation I had with you, I went to the gym immediately after. I was like, you
Awesome.
just kind of sparked this light inside me, and it's definitely conversations like this with people that are growing that make me want to continue and keep learning,
Awesome.
evolving, and becoming a better version of myself. So, Daniel, welcome to the show.
Awesome, Jake. Excited to be here. Glad I, had a little bit of inspiration on the last time we chatted, and yeah, man, I'm drawn to your passion for growth, for learning. And so really excited to just dive in and talk about all types of things today.
Absolutely. I think that's something that resonated with me in our last conversation was you had mentioned you were talking, we dove into a lot of different topics, but the one that really resonated with me was the scarcity versus abundance mindset, you know, and the differences between the two. I like to reference it as positive and negative thinking. What do you think that the scarcity abundance mindset, like what exactly is it and how is it affecting today's people?
Yeah, I think, 90% of our emotions, our beliefs, what we're doing every day, how we show up to the world, 90% of it is subconscious. And,
Subconscious.
90% of it's subconscious. I think something along the lines of by the time you're 7 years old, a lot of the kind of behaviors and learnings of things that you've learned from your friend group, your family, your friends, experiences you've had, whether it's, little traumatic experiences, big traumatic experiences,
Mm-hmm.
it sort of like lays the foundation for you getting into becoming a teenager. And then there's more behaviors and more personality traits that develop based on your experiences. But a lot of it's subconscious, right? If like a teacher yells at you and you have a negative experience with the teacher, you're going to have like this little traumatic experience, like, oh my gosh, and like, okay, I actually used to get yelled at a lot and I probably had some micro traumas back in my day. And I just realized, okay, well, I was just a creative bird that wanted to fly in the classroom and I couldn't fly because I was bored to death with like this subject or that
With
subject.
the different things that you were learning.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I say all that as far as early age into teens, our beliefs shape the lens in which we see reality. And sometimes some of those beliefs have negative connotations attached to them by default, right?
By default.
If you had a negative experience with, let's say, I don't know an example here, but like, let's say a really tall person tripped you one time and you just had this negative experience, like, oh my God, all tall people are this. And like, you just have all these negative connotations associated with that. That's not true with all tall people, but you had that one negative experience.
One negative
so
experience.
I think that example is where I think scarcity and abundance starts to come in. So scarcity is always looking from the frame of mind of like, there's something negative here and you're going to have negative associations with it. So it's like, oh, well, you want to grow, but I'm not going to grow because scarcity. Oh, you have this whole opportunity to do X, Y, Z, but I'm going to blame it on this, that, and the third. Oh, well, my past story based on my experience, my life, my family, negative frame, not going to do it. No. So
and
scarcity
it's almost like a
is
loss
always
before it even starts.
That's right. It's lack that is subconscious that most of the time people don't even realize it's this negative frame of mind. Abundance is the opposite. How can I have a positive outlook on all of life's circumstances, even when they are challenging circumstances, even when they are obstacles? And the more you can lean into abundance thinking, because you do have a choice on how to
It's a
respond. This is
choice,
where
100%.
that's right. So you have the choice. People's default sometimes is more one than the other. But if you could say, hold on, before I respond to this, what can I choose that is going to serve me moving forward? So, like the positive thinking, the abundance mindset, you're right. It means very similar things. How can you approach life with the abundance frame of mind, with a positive frame, even if it's a challenging situation?
I think that's great, Daniel. And you're really talking about how we can program our minds to be positive, and be in a position where we are thinking positive thoughts and being open and curious and being able to take in knowledge and wisdom and expertise from other people. That's why I love engaging in these types of conversations, is because if I'm open to accepting the knowledge, the wisdom, the perspective that the other person's giving, like I could learn a ton of information. And I think that that's something that I wish was talked about more in schools, to be honest, like within our education system. The reason why it's important that we are open and learning from other people. It's like every single person is their own unique being. And
Mm.
we can all learn from each other, but especially growing up, a lot of times we're looking at other people and we're like, do I want to listen to them? But yet, something that you could hear from them, like you're going to learn regardless. You're going to learn either what to do or what not to do, or what you like, what you don't like. And I think it just goes back into developing that abundance mindset where you can consume information almost like a sponge, and being able to like
Mm-hmm.
absorb it in and take it in and be able to now use it throughout your
Yeah.
life with whatever it is that you were doing. Daniel, you've been an entrepreneur for about 20 years now, you said?
Yeah. I mean, I've always had the bug in me. 20 years back would make me 18. So, like, the bug was definitely there, 18 years old. But, like, yeah, in that like 15-year range, I've had like a business, and I'm like, all right, how can I, Tony Robbins says, burn the boats. Like, I can't take the boat to retreat and go back. It's like, burn the boats, figure out how I can make this entrepreneurship thing work.
And I think that that goes into, like, you even saying burn the boats. Like, it's even thinking about, you have the option, just like you were talking about before. It's like you have the two choices. You could either choose to be the abundance, or you could choose to be the scarcity. In that time period of you being 15, 16, 17, 18 years old, you do have that choice of whether or not you should approach it with the idea of positivity, of the idea of what you can create, rather than that scarcity mindset of like, oh, what if I do this and I fail? And I'm sure, and this is something that I've seen within my journey, I'm going to ask you this question too: has there been people within your life that kind of like thought that you, or talked down on your manifestations or your dreams or things that you were aspiring to be? I think that a lot of young entrepreneurs, when they first start, they might have family members, friends, different people that are telling them, hey, listen, like, why don't you stick to realistic thought? Why don't you be more realistic, or what makes you different to be able to do this? Has that been something that you've experienced throughout this process? And how would you coach another entrepreneur on how to kind of navigate their way through, or how'd you coach yourself?
Really great question. So make sure I come back to the term realistic, and I don't forget to come back to that word.
Realistic. Okay, I'll
I I
remember.
I, I I was I was blessed for parents that allowed me and my two younger siblings to kind of just explore, like to just go out and try things. In middle school,
Explore.
I was in a boy band. I sang because NSYNC, beat it, Backstreet, B2K, Boys to Men. That was like the start of my kind of creative performing arts world. So my parents like, try that. I played baseball. I played all-star ball. One of my first jobs ever was an umpire. I worked in Radio Shack. I worked at Sam Ash Music. I worked at the Apple Store, right? So like I had all these life experiences to just help shape me as a person. Try things, try things, try things. What can I learn here? Right? Looking back, like what was the abundance mindset of what I learned from this experience, what I learned from here, what I learned from here. Now, off the top of my head, and I know there are people that maybe can point it right out, there wasn't necessarily one that kind of maybe held me back with the way like my thinking was framed. And maybe that's why I've gotten to a point now where I really am aware by thinking about my thinking of what high performance people are, like how they're showing up and making decisions, how they're setting goals, how they're casting goals. And the word realistic, I wanted to talk about that. I hear that word thrown around sometimes, and every time I hear it, I'm like, the word realistic is immediately putting a ceiling on potential.
Mm.
It's putting a
Wow.
ceiling. It's sort of like, have you ever heard of Roger Bannister? I think that's his name. He broke a world record in the 4 minute mile. I think that's the name. But anyway,
I mean,
I think it's Roger Bannister.
I actually watched I think I watched a show on that. I don't know if they made a show on he was breaking the 4 minute mile. Pretty crazy.
So they had stats. It's impossible for people to run a 4 minute mile or sub 4 minutes. 3:59, 3:58, 3:57. It was impossible. They said, right, limitations. They said you're going to die if you try to do it. They said you're going to be in the hospital. It's going to be dangerous. Don't do it. Humans can't do it. And so what did that do? Most of the people, I got to be realistic. I'm not going to even try for it because there's already people saying it's impossible. And I love going for impossible. That's why the word realistic, I think, is ridiculous. So Roger Bannister said, I'm going to do it. I'm absolutely going to do it. And what happens? He tries time and time again. He finally beats the 4 minute mile. But that's not the most amazing part, Jake. The next person beat the 4 minute mile. The
So
next
there's more
person
than
beat
one.
Roger. The next person, like, I don't know the number by now. By now, there's probably hundreds of people. That was back in the day. Like, we're talking, I forget what decade it was. Maybe it's the 60s or the 50s or the 40s. And it was that limitation of be realistic that Roger Bannister did not listen to. And he broke it. And so, what's that frame of mind with you as a person thinking of, like, do I want to become a professional athlete? Well, be realistic. Our family's never done it. Do not allow that to be a limitation. Oh, well, like Muggsy Bogues, who is a 5'3" NBA player who retired years ago, but I used to watch him when I was younger.
Mm.
NBA player, 5'3" tall.
Probably was told that his whole life.
Probably was told, hey, you're really short, man. Very unlikely you're going to get in the NBA. Dude came into the NBA, crushed it, was an all-star. Just like long list of not allowing the word realistic or think smaller hold him back. And so the word realistic, I would allow people to say, if it's a word you use, or if people are saying the word realistic to you, put in the back of your mind, anytime somebody is saying realistic, that's their limitation, not yours.
It doesn't need to be yours. I think that goes back into like, your verdict is what really matters, your choices. And
That's right.
obviously you could hear other people. I think that other people's viewpoints do come out within conversation with another person. Like for instance, if I'm talking to somebody that maybe wasn't a business owner, entrepreneur, I'm going to get a completely different perspective than somebody that say was, like yourself.
Mm-hmm.
If I was to open
Mm-hmm.
up and express maybe some issues that I had within my business, I might be, if I was expressing to somebody like you, a business leader, they might take it and be able to start problem solving, think about different
Mm-hmm.
things, be empathetic towards the other business owner. And I think that that's something even for athletes. And when you're looking at it, because I really do believe that entrepreneurship and athletics are so similar. In our last conversation, you had mentioned how you were an athlete your whole life and you kind of like had the decision between either going into entrepreneurship or being an athlete in college, and you kind of chose your route. But I think the same discipline, consistency, work ethic all applies to both, regardless of what you're doing. And yeah, I mean, I think that throughout my lifetime, I was definitely told realistic perspective. And I do think that that's something that obviously, if somebody is telling you to be more realistic, they were probably told that once upon a time too. And the difference is that maybe if they were in maybe a scarcity mindset, they might be more inclined of taking that, having that sense of fear and being like, oh, you know what? I'm not going to pursue my dreams And so when I'm looking at it from that perspective, and then I always have to constantly tell myself and remind myself over and over again, it's like, what do I want with my life? And if I look back later on into the future, like if I'm looking back and I'm on my deathbed, like am I going to be upset with what I try to do? Am I going to be upset with shooting for my dreams versus like say go to that comfort zone of the realistic perspective of going this route and then just like being okay with it. Like what do I really want? And I think that that's something that Bill Beswick, I study a lot of Bill Beswick. He's a sports psychologist, older guy, ancient dude. He's got Parkinson's disease. Again, like doesn't even need to speak anymore. He's like, but I think he still shares wisdom and he's going to be a legend too. That's what like I love technology because people that like for instance Kobe Bryant's no longer here with us anymore, but I still share his message within my
Mm,
coaching constantly. This guy Bill Beswick,
mm,
same exact thing. And he just talks about like what
mhm.
do you want? How bad do you want it? What are you willing to sacrifice? And I think that's something for us is like, yeah, we're hearing this negativity maybe from other people that haven't done it. And it's taking us away from, and I see it in athletics a lot because I think a lot of, I would say all youth athletes want to go play professional or want to go play college. All of them, but they're hearing, oh well, so and so is going here, or maybe you're not fast enough to be able to do this, or maybe you're not talented enough, or be realistic. Maybe you should go play Division 3 instead of Division 1 because you don't have the size, or you don't have the speed, or you don't have the IQ, or you don't have the same opportunities as other people. And I think that it really does. And I see this within athletics. I see it within the business world and people within career. Like it really does kind of shade us away from like going for it, and snatching for it. And like, how would you kind of mentor a young person on how to navigate their way through that? Like, does it go back into like that positive thinking of like programming your mind with positivity and surrounding yourself with people that have done it?
Yeah, it's a great question. Not everybody's going to make professional sports, right? It's a low percentage that are going to get into professional sports. But I think the training that goes into competitiveness, dealing with your own thinking in really high pressured situations, like, you know, bases loaded, full count, you're up to bat and what you do decides the fate of your entire team, right? Like
Mm,
that has lessons in life of achievement. Whether you go into business, you go down the corporate path, you become a professional sports athlete. Being able to think under pressure and to be balanced, not get anxious. And I think sports teaches this. Okay, in the beginning, you're going to get a little
absolutely,
anxious. Oh my gosh.
100%,
Oh my gosh, what am I going to do?
100%
And then
teaches.
coaches will teach you, hey, here's what you do when you're in those situations. Here's how you control those moments of anxiety. And I think the mindset training that goes into athletics 100% applies into people absolutely crushing it in career, in entrepreneurship, in whatever path they go as leaders in their family, right? Like I have a 18-month-old and I'm already thinking about it. I'm like, we had a swim class today, like him and we do swim class together and I'm with like a couple other
I love
parents.
that.
And he leans to me like, I don't want to go underneath and grab the ring on the bottom step. It's like a 4 or 5 foot pool. So I'm holding him and we're swimming and he holds on to me, Daddy. No, no, like he could barely talk. But he's like, I don't want to do it. Right. There's fear there.
Yeah, yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
teaching him, you got this. It's all good. I'm like, I can't wait to teach him these principles that have taught me to lean in to the discomfort. And he did it. He picked it up and he celebrated. Right.
I love
Like,
that.
so yeah, that comes to mind for me. But the lessons we learn in sports, if you want to become a professional athlete, try as hard as you can to make it happen. Get the right people around you, right? You like a buddy of mine, his son wanted to. They said, like, "What do you want to do?" He's like, "I want to become a professional tennis player." Are you sure? Yes. So they said, "Okay, well, how can we better the chances of our son becoming a professional tennis player?" College level coaches are great, but where are the pro coaches? Then it's like, all right, well, as parents, we could help our children to say, like, where are the masters? How can I go and seek the masters? The mindset coach, the mechanics coach. Just get the right people around you to elevate you up. But all of what we're saying around abundance thinking, scarcity thinking, the the players that we never really know about, the ones that don't become legends, don't master the mind game, and maybe are not even practicing nearly as much as they should. Steph Curry's taken more shots probably in practice than any person ever in the history of the world.
Mm-hmm.
I forget his numbers in practice. Like, he does insane amount of numbers of shots, and that's why he's amazing. And so go through professional sports. If you don't make it, I'll tell you what, the mindset that you've developed, transferring that into another area of passion or
Absolutely.
another area of work is going to give you a major competitive edge, whatever that is.
I think you make a great point when you're saying go for it and learn along the way, and all of the skills that you learn are going to stay with you. It's like when we create a goal for ourselves and we go shoot for it, and we're constantly digging and digging and digging and clawing, trying to get to that goal. All of the goals, I mean, all of the skills that we're acquiring throughout that process literally stays with you, and it's throughout your entire lifetime. Like I even recall one time, and I'm very fortunate for my father. He taught me a lot of lessons growing up, and not everybody always has that. So I'm very privileged to have somebody that was willing to share and express wisdom and lesson. And I remember there was one time where I was probably like say 5 or 6 years old, and I couldn't do 5 pull-ups to pass my health exam for school. And I remember like going home, and he gave me a series of workouts to do for like 2 weeks, and all of a sudden like I was able to do it.
Awesome.
And what that just taught me at such a young age was just the process of, yeah, I failed, but it's not a fail because now I'm learning from it. Now I'm going to apply action, and then all of a sudden it's going to become a success. And I think that even me flash forward to like I wanted to go play professional sports, and that was something that I was aspiring to do, and I didn't get there. But all of the consistency, the work ethic, the being open to hearing new ideas, perspectives, and learning from other people is now still instilled in me. And now I try to approach that with every single day. And I think that that is something that I feel as parents and as adults that are influencing the younger generations, like 100%. You mentioning how your parents allowed you to explore and to be open
Mm-hmm.
and to try
Mm-hmm.
things, to fail, to learn from them.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that
Mm-hmm.
is something that should be pushed, and it's not like an end all be all thing. It can't just be like, oh, I'm either going to succeed or I'm going to fail. There's actually no such thing as failure. It's you're either
Mm,
going to succeed or you're going to learn, and then you're going to succeed at something
good.
else that you do. And that's what I think
That's
that
everything.
absolutely. And it goes back into what we talked about the other day and what you had mentioned a little bit here with Steph Curry is like the repetition, like the amount of repetition that one must take. And like I listen to a lot of other podcasters and people that are out there, and a big difference that they have over me, they have years of experience. They have years of repetition. And I think that in a world today, we kind of sometimes I find myself, and I know that other people like within the world, like they fall victim to the comparison or like the comparing to other people, and how that they say when you compare yourself to others, that's actually like it's taking away your joy, it's literally destroying you. And I think that in today's world with social media, within athletes, within business owners, within social media influencers and stuff like that, like I think that people fall victim to that as well, to the comparison. And that leads me into kind of this next thought. And we were talking about the other day, kind of that 80/20. And even though you might have a plan and you might have something set up, it's so important that you are working on yourself throughout the process. Like you are a dad, you're a father, you're a husband, you're a business leader. Like, how do you find time to still work on yourself along the way? Because you could tell that you're still working on yourself. And then why is it so important that you're working on yourself so that you can provide better positive energy towards the people that you're working with?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really great question. So the first thing is you can't do everything yourself. At a certain point, you need great people around you to help you in
Team.
various areas of expertise, right? So like, for example, I have a personal assistant that just helps me do lots of things, you know, help, hey, call this person. We need to bring this thing to the finish line. Hey, can we do this? Can we do this? Can we do this? I didn't have that early on. It's like, all right, I'm juggling everything myself. But, you know, there's a great book called Who Not How by Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin
Who
Hardy.
not how.
Yeah. And it's really about how are people able to achieve a lot without becoming a superhero, but rather through collaboration. And so I love those three words. It's not how can I do all of these things, is who could help me do many of the hows that I need to achieve. And what are the zones that I'm not good at or I don't enjoy that I could just maybe even delegate or source this to somebody else. For example, some people are mowing their lawns and they're like, oh, I'm so busy with life. Could you pay somebody to mow the lawn so you could stop doing that? And maybe you could spend more time doing it with other things.
Somewhere else. Your time's so valuable. Your time's so valuable.
So it gets to the point where, okay, well, of all the things that my time may go to, how can I prioritize where I want to be spending my time? And then what are the areas that I maybe want to get help around me and delegate, right? So like there's all types of freelancers that are helping us out in business. For example, somebody's helping us run our search engine, you know, growth. Somebody's helping us run our Google ads. And we have the who to help us do the how. I'm not trying to do it all myself. I'm not trying to even hire full-time people to do every single thing for everything in the business. And so there's creative ways of saying like, well, what are entrepreneurs doing that are like building lives and businesses that they are really proud of? And they're just getting great people around them. Same thing in sports. Are you going to just like read books and watch YouTube videos to like become really great in your sport? Or are you going to find great who's that could shorten your learning curve to help you do the how?
100%.
Or to help you identify, well, you know, what position should I go all in on in whatever sport you're in? Should I be a goalie? Should I be a forward in soccer? Should, you know, in baseball or basketball or lacrosse or like whatever, like football, like getting people. Right who's around you to help you raise your confidence, but also to get clarity on like what you should be focusing on is crucial.
No, I think that's so important. And you're really touching on the value of like mentorship and community and surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals. And even, I mean, as far as you creating a team and you like, how much are you learning from your team, Daniel? And I think that that's something that like you being open to even having people around you and being able to learn. Like I've just found the best leaders I've ever seen are the ones that are willing to open up and learn to other people that are working with them, for them. And I like to use the term with them. Like I recall there was actually somebody recently who wanted me to work for them. As soon as I heard the word for, I immediately was thrown off by it, you know, because I really do believe like, even if you are in a leadership position, you're working with people. You know, it makes it more of like a community base when you're saying, hey, come work with me. Let's work together on this. And I think that that's something that you bring to your leadership. Is that something that you try to create within your work environment?
Yeah, I just be open, be relatable. Don't be the intimidating owner of a company. Like we call it team. I don't even call people employees. Team. It's like we're on a team and we're all focusing on the better, you know, the best outcome of the company. Like back to sports. I mean, there's a lot of crossover between the two. Like, okay, 100%. maybe I'm the coach and I'm not even in the game as much as I used to be, right? But like, would the Chicago Bulls would they have been as exceptional without Phil Jackson when Jordan was there? Maybe not.
Everybody's got their role.
You know, Popovich on the Spurs with David Robinson and Tim Duncan, that whole run that they went on, and they had amazing, like they had a ton of championships. Greg Popovich, would they have done as well without it? No. And so, but Popovich needed Duncan, and Popovich needed Tony Parker, and needed this player and that player. They all needed each other. And so it's like the best companies, very much like the best teams, have great people in the roles.
Great people.
All aligned with the outcome of what the company or the team is trying to achieve. A championship. What does the championship look like in a company? It's exceeding realistic expectations. For the ambitious companies, for the companies that have big visions to charter into uncharted territories. They call in business, they call it like the blue ocean, where you like create your own path.
Mm-hmm.
Like a good blue ocean example is like the whole United States had circuses everywhere. There was circuses everywhere. But then Cirque du Soleil comes along and says, we're going to do something completely different at a higher price point. And Cirque du Soleil created their own category, their own blue ocean. The analogy is like a big whale swimming in the ocean waters, zero competition, versus a red ocean, which is much more competitive. It's much more similar to what already exists. So I think companies that are trying to get out of the word realistic are always thinking out of the box and way above these ceilings of what's possible. And it's only impossible because you don't know the path to get there, but it's likely possible if you opened your mind to an abundance way of thinking, if you're curious by finding great people around you that might be able to consult you on how to do XYZ. I've never done a franchise, but I want to build a franchise for my entertainment company. Oh, well, do I have any friends that are in the franchise world? Like, be resourceful. Proximity is power. Where can I lean in to being to asking for help? I think that's such a big word, like asking for help.
Yeah.
Stop trying to do everything yourself. Where can you be in rooms that are going to level up your thinking, challenge your current reality, learn what is high performance thinking? What are people doing in athletics? What are people doing in entrepreneurship or leadership or mindset? How are they thinking? And what might I need to change about my thinking? That's a beautiful journey that I went down personally. Like I learned a lot from Tony Robbins about 10 years ago. That was like the start of my personal development journey. Like I knew I was capable more. I knew I was talented, but I was born into a loving family. My dad was an immigrant, poor from Colombia, and my mom's a girl from Queens. My dad became a dentist, and fortunately we're very blessed to not live in survival when it comes to income, and we were able to take a nice trip occasionally as a family. But like, they were not entrepreneurial. They were not taught this is how Kobe and Jordan and Tom Brady, the high performance thinking of athletes, which is the same high performance thinking in entrepreneurship. They weren't taught that, but I knew I had that bug in me. My grandfather was an entrepreneur. He passed away when I was very young, so I couldn't learn too much from him. But like, the success leaves clues. How can I learn from others that can level me up has been my constant curiosity.
And the more that you're learning, and then I'm sure you're sharing the things that you're learning with your team, and then you're just, each time you're learning something and then you share it or you write it down, it's like that repetition again.
That's right.
I
That's
think
right.
that is something that, as far as programming your mind, like if there's somebody out there that feels like they are in that scarcity mindset, maybe they feel like they are a victim, or maybe they feel like they are afraid of the uncertainty within life and within this world. There is a way that you can start to reprogram your mind to a positive, more abundant mindset where you can now accept information, but it takes so long. And something that you mentioned the other day was we were talking about how your brain is like a computer. It's like a computer software unit, and it's like programming, and rather than you can program a computer so fast. Maybe it takes you're putting your stuff in. I don't really know how to code and stuff like that, but you could do it a lot faster than somebody that can program their mind. And I think that that's something that is really important. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of effort, takes a lot of consistency. I find for myself, and I don't know if you could relate, but like spending alone time really allows you to kind of start to reprogram your mind, especially if you're amongst others that maybe are in that scarcity mindset. If you're around four other people that are thinking in that scarcity style mindset, you're going to be drawn into that. If you're around other people that are in that abundance state, you're going to be drawn into that. So I think that that's something that's really important. And I think that even when you are, something Mel Robbins talks about is, and this is something that through reflection, my entire life I was part of teams. So like I was a child, I was part of a team. pretty much given my friend group, pretty much given the people that I was around. I'm in college, pretty much given the people that I was around. As a young adult, when you're finished with school, all of a sudden, and especially if you're in the entrepreneur world, you're by yourself. You got no team anymore. So that's something that, like, for me, this past couple of years has been a challenge for me, navigating my way through. And that's something that helps me is that I work with people individually. So they actually become part of my team. And that's something
Here's
that
what I would say. Here's what I would say about that. You need to find your next team.
next team.
Now, your clients or people that you're coaching or people that you're serving, sure, that's community, that's connection.
Hmm.
But what I would suggest to you is, where are the other people that are maybe similar minded to me? Where is that community? Like for me, it was, oh, well, Tony Robbins attracts all these people that are thinking at a higher wavelength. And oh, Tony's got this business mastery event. That is a really expensive event, but maybe I should go there. Like
But
this is
it's
part of my
worth it.
story.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is part
yeah.
of my story. And then maybe this, and then maybe that. And then there was these other groups of entrepreneurs, and I'm like, oh, wow, it'd be great to be there. But boy, that's even more expensive. But I did it. I was scared, but I did it. And I leveled up. My wisdom accelerated. I'm 38, and I'm blessed to have wisdom of entrepreneurs that maybe are much older than me,
Uh-huh.
because I said, let me rapidly accelerate my proximity and be around people 10, 20, 30, 40 years older than me that have built all types of success stories with their family, with their
Hmm.
business, with all types of businesses. Well, I know one person that sold a movie studio. I know another person that coaches, young adults, or another person that is a filmmaker. I like literally across the board. And it has allowed me to say, oh, well, we're all human. I like how this person thinks about happiness. I don't like this person who's, an egomaniac, for example. And so you're just
Uh-huh.
like around high performers, and you're like, what do I like? What can I take? What can I learn? That doesn't resonate with me, but this does. Oh, we're going to talk about trauma. I'm going to learn a lot about trauma. Like
You can serve
it's
it.
helped me develop as a person to more confidently take action. Because the most important thing for an entrepreneur is their confidence, because it's
Confidence.
lonely. It's lonely.
Absolutely.
And so, how does your confidence get protected? How do you strengthen your confidence? It's the proximity around other people that are like, hey, you're on the right track, Jake. Here's my recommendation. What do you think about it? Oh, I'm thinking about growing in this way or that way. Hey, I think you should speak to Daniel because he knows a lot about what you're trying to do. Oh, that's actually a great idea. Back to proximity is power. You don't have to figure things out yourself. Your network starts to become who, not how, to figuring out your obstacles, to figuring out your challenges.
And you're speeding up your growth process that way. It goes back into,
That's
like,
it.
even if you were to go to a store and you're like looking for a specific tool, it's like, do I want to be sitting there kind of like trying to find it myself, or do I want to go ask a worker there and then tell me exactly where it is so that I save time in the long run? And I think that that's something that when you do find mentorship or you work with coaches, you are speeding up your process. You're speeding up your
Mm-hmm.
process. You're making
Yep.
it faster. Like you're taking in wisdom from people that are, say, 60 years old, and you
Mm-hmm.
as a 38-year-old are now taking that in. Now you're programming your
That's right.
mind to be like that. And that's something that I think is really beneficial with technology, is I think that technology allows us to speed the process. We are growing so fast. Like I even see it with the athletes that I work with. The game of lacrosse has evolved significantly since I was a kid. And it's just because there is so much more tech and everybody is watching videos, everybody's learning, everybody is seeing the game being played and taking different highlight plays and now installing that into their own game. And I even see it within the fitness coaching industry. Is like I'll go on social media, all of a sudden I'm seeing somebody else that's within the industry post something super creative and awesome, and it's now motivating, inspiring me to kind of do the same thing. And I think that that's something that's beautiful within tech and within the life. I think mentorship is probably the most valuable thing that you could possibly have, is like me being able to engage in a conversation with you is now helping me speed up my process of learning. Same thing with, like, I was fortunate that my brother-in-law is also a business owner, and I've been fortunate enough to meet him because the amount of stuff that I've learned from him, somebody that's 10 years older than me, is like I'm able to share that with my athletes. I'm able to express it to, and that's what I think it's super important. Something that I really like about you is that like I think you're just open to learning. And something that you mentioned in the last conversation that we had was you were talking about successful people and how they what they all have
Hmm.
in common. And you were just talking about being a student of the
Yeah.
game. And after I heard you say that, it's like it really does reference inside my mind. It's like, are we just constantly learning out here? Is that
Yes.
it?
Yes. You're never arriving, Jake. And people that think they've arrived, the know-it-alls, they're usually going to plateau. Like, like even the greatest athletes ever are always sharpening the saw, always sharpening the saw. Um, Forever. Like it's just always part of their process. I was lucky to be at an event. Back to me being in the room and absorbing energy of people that have built really big, successful things that are admirable. There was 5 or 6 people on the stage, all of them top of their category. The master at habits and research, BJ Fogg was on stage. He's a professor at Stanford University, wrote a really great book, Tiny Habits. There was Chris Voss, who wrote the book Never Split the Difference. He used to be a hostage negotiator. Now he helps negotiations for companies, leadership. He's built big brands. He even has a masterclass on that masterclass platform. Dan Sullivan, a coach for 40, 45 years, one of the greatest coaches to ever live, was there. And then like Gino Wickman, who wrote the book Traction. He's built this massive business around entrepreneurial operating systems and how to operate your companies. They're all on stage. They're all talking. And I'm like, man, these people are taking notes. They're a student of the game. They're curious. Their ego is not there. They're just like, here's what we learned last quarter that
And
we're
highly
applying
successful
to here.
people.
It changed the game. It changed the perception of how I was approaching life. Now, when I saw that, I'm like, wait, that's me. So I'm like, wait, I saw behaviors of their always be learning. And I'm like, wait, that's me. I'm on the right track. I'm always curious to make this better, make this better. How can I optimize? Make this better. How can I optimize? Marketing's the same way. Sports is the same way. Try, try, try. Fail, 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 but it's not fail, fail, fail. It's learn, 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 iterate, improve, learn, 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 iterate, improve. The best marketers don't know all the magic secrets the first time. They fail 98 times and they learn how to crush 2 of them and send it to the moon.
Absolutely.
But they're really good at failing, and there's confidence in that. And there's also an acronym that I think is worth mentioning, and maybe you were going to mention this because we had spoken about it on our past call, but fear, uncertainty, and discomfort, FUD, is a part of the process that a lot of people don't know how to handle. So whether you're in sports, anything that is a new step into uncharted territory, a step into the unknown, a step into the uncertainty, there's always going to be fear. There's always going to be uncertainty. There's always going to be discomfort. If you look back, which by the way, that's the best way to measure your progress. Where was I a year ago? Where was I 3 years ago? Where was I 5 years ago? Versus the comparison game that you said, the best way to measure your progress is by looking backwards. That's how you fill up. Not, oh, what's my lack in the future because of so-and-so that I see on social media. I should be so proud of myself because my family tree did not come from XYZ, and I'm just like growing and I'm getting better. I'm trying to be the best person for my family. But the acronym FUD, Kobe Bryant has spoken about how the big shift from the Kobe Bryant that was a great basketball player to Kobe Bryant that was a legend in the game. He spoke about it. He said, he used to have those feelings on the inside, the anxiety, the fear, the uncertainty, the discomfort. Mm-hmm. But instead of trying to ignore it and pushing through, he started to say, well, these feelings is what growth feels like. And if I could acknowledge this and normalize this, and instead of it being fear, uncertainty, and discomfort, it's excitement. And it's my senses showing up to want to be sensational in this new territory. There's another acronym here. We are mentioning lots of acronyms. Who is a mindset coach for professional golfers and the San Antonio Spurs. Funny enough, his name is David Cook, and he's got an acronym called SFT. He wrote a book called Greatness. SFT stands for See, Feel, Trust. High performers, whether you're an athlete or not an athlete or business owner, you're just somebody that wants to achieve. High performers, when they're in that zone of uncomfortable feelings, they see the outcome they want to hit. Is it a home run when it's bases loaded, 3-2? They're feeling inside, okay, I acknowledge those emotions, but I got this. And then they trust, they're guided. I'm a man of faith. I believe I'm guided on this earth in many ways. It's not a coincidence that I'm talking to you right now, Jake. It's not a coincidence that I walked up to my wife 9 years ago when I first saw her, and she turned me down 3 times, and then I went back a 4th time, and she said yes the 4th time. I wasn't a jerk about it. I was polite, but she turned me down 3 times in a social setting because she was waiting for friends. That was her excuse. But the trust in SFT is trust that I got it, that I'm guided, that I have everything inside of me, and I'm being led to the best possible outcome from this. So the high performance mindset for the Kobe's, for the Tiger Woods, for people that are continually able to grow, is they're seeing the outcome, they're feeling that they know they're capable, and they're trusting that they're guided. The other important thing, Jake, is not thinking about the thing that might drag you down that happened an hour ago or a week ago or a year ago, that, oh, I did this, it was a mistake. It's like a golf swing. You had a bad swing. If you dwell on it, it's going to affect you.
Absolutely.
So SFT is all about now and all about now capability, not what was or what will be, but right now, trusting it. And that allows you to just really be at that balance level.
100%. You saying, I think a big thing to take from that is being mindful, being fully in the present moment, and being able to visualize the outcome, I think, is something that's really important and beneficial for everyone. Even for me, when I go back to why I love that I got to hop on a call with you today, is literally just the fact that you grew a family, you grew a business, you're working on yourself. This is exactly what I'm envisioning for myself. And it's like, I have to do this myself. I have to sit here and I have to think about, I have to see, I have to feel, and then I have to do, and I think that that's something that is, especially for a young entrepreneur, 100%
Can I give you a story really quick that's like totally relevant to what you just said?
No, 100%, please.
2020, our business shut down because we do live events. We literally produce weddings in New York. It was one of the strictest places regarding COVID. Business shut down. Fear, uncertainty, discomfort. What are we going to do? Do I go scarcity or do I go abundance? What did you think I did, Jake?
You went abundance because you got to learn.
I went abundance. What do I have control over? Not that. Okay, where else can we add value? Not in the wedding world. The thought is, oh, do we do the Zoom weddings? We thought about it quickly, but we're like, what? That's not the path we're going to go. We're like, where else can we add value? Well, there's still schools in business, even though they're on Zoom. What if we help schools with virtual events? What if we help them with like parties or a graduation online? I said, abundance thinking, positive thinking. Could we just reach out to schools and see if there's a way that we can help them? And we were just persistent, finding contact information, learning how to find it, finding the right who's to help us find the contact information, to send the email, to call the right people. We got an interview with the lead IT director of the Department of Education for New York City schools. And he said, we need help with graduations. Can you guys help us? We might send you 20 to 30 schools because there's 1,800 schools in New York City. Could you help us? Fear, uncertainty, and discomfort, Jake.
Wow.
Do I run away and say no? Or do I lean into it, recognize this is the feeling of growth, and embrace it anyway and trust that I will be guided and I will figure it out, whether it's me and my internal team or finding the right people around us to figure it out. What did we do? 54 virtual graduations in 2020 and 104 events the following year. A mixture of graduations, a mixture of parties, a mixture of live streams outside. Woo! But it was all abundance thinking, but it was scary. but I leaned into it anyway. These acronyms that I'm telling you right now in 2020,
Scary.
I didn't have the words for it, but I was leaning into it. I was trusting it. I was taking imperfect action. Earlier you had brought up the 80-20.
Imperfect.
I forgot to touch on that. 80%, I felt 80% ready to take on those virtual graduations. We started talking to schools. We got added on the list, Jake, after we were vetted, and we just got inundated. I'll never forget. There's this day where it was like the faucet of just schools reaching out to us. Can you help us with our graduation? Can you help us with our graduation? Can you help us with our graduation? The amount of people were asking, can you show us an example of a virtual graduation you guys have done in the past? No, there's never been a need for a virtual graduation, but we were building, all right, what could the product be? What can we do? Abundance thinking. How can we get a really great finished product for these schools? And we figured it out, man. There was like no negative thinking. It was in the back of my mind, the little, hey, but what if you fail? What if you fail? Nope. Failure is not an option. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to get great people around me. I'm going to get great people around me, and we're going to figure it out. We're going to figure it out. We're going to figure it out. And we leaped at 80% ready. And to this day, 6 years later, there's still schools that work with us in different capacities. We're now adding new areas of value to schools. We're helping them with marketing videos or animations. And so that's a story that pops into mind that literally is fear, uncertainty, and discomfort on a pedestal, and how I saw the possibility. It wasn't clear with what it was going to be yet. I felt that I was capable and I was able to figure it out, to be resourceful, to find people. And I trusted that everything was going to be okay.
Trusted things were going to be okay, and then took imperfect action. I think that is something, because I speak to a lot of people when they're coming into the gym and they're wanting to maybe work with a coach, and a lot of them are like, I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know if I'm there yet. And I think that it goes back into, we don't need to be perfect. You saying it's like you're a high performer, and yet like you're saying you were feeling 80% when you put yourself out there and did it, and you didn't really know how to if it was going to work or how it was going to work, but you kind of just took the imperfect action and you figured it out along the way. And I think that really goes back into the mindset that you're talking about, Daniel, and how important it is as a business leader, an entrepreneur. And I also reference it as everybody out here is a leader. If you're an older brother, older sister, you're a leader. If you're a parent, you're a leader. Like, everybody's a leader in some sort of way. And I think that when people start to see that, it's like, okay, like, if I'm going to be a leader in some sort of area within my life, how important it is to work on developing your mindset, like developing your mindset. Like, you're speaking to me clearly. You've had so much work that has gone on, and it's probably even I'm looking at myself. It's like, I do so much work, but like, yet I have days where I'm struggling within my mindset, within my mental, and I think
it should always be, what do I have control over, and how can I look at this in a positive frame? Control, positive frame, resourcefulness. Where can I go? How can I figure it out? How can I build my confidence for something that I'm trying to figure out? Like, literally, the next year, 2021, in that graduation example, hey, we want to do an outdoor graduation. There's no power and there's no internet. Can you do sound and live stream the event all over the internet? Yeah, absolutely. We'll get back to you with a quote. What? No power, no internet on these fields out in New York?
How are you going to do it?
How am I going to figure it out? Well, where's the master? Where's the experts that can do this in their sleep? Maybe it's people that sell news equipment. Maybe it's others that are already doing streams in some capacity. And with one person, he's like, hey, yeah, there's this equipment. It's called a Live View Solo, and it's got 3 modems built into it. So if one fails or goes down, the other one's going to lift it back up, and it's going to be really solid. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there you go. I had no idea how I was going to figure it out, but I trusted in myself to be resourceful and find great people around me. And that's what we did.
I love that. I think that's something that, you just seem like the type of person that wants to surround yourself with positivity, surround yourself with other like-minded individuals. And you've literally done it. And that's something that, like, I'm telling you, I grab inspiration from people like you that put themselves out there, that clearly, like, I mean, there's probably lots of fear of rejection too throughout your process of like being rejected
Sure.
to from different people that may want to work with you, maybe rejection from different people that you wanted to be mentored by, and kind of like fighting your way through that and navigating your way through. And I think that the emotional regulation and just really understanding oneself is something that is so beneficial and important, you know, and I think that it goes back into, if you want to be the best father, the best business leader, it's so important that you are working on yourself outside of it. It's like we need to work on ourselves and grow, learn more about ourselves, because then it goes into the confidence level. You know, when you're speaking about confidence and when I'm speaking to an athlete about confidence, it's like it's not just what you're doing on the field. If you want to gain confidence when you're one-on-one against another athlete, well, what are you doing outside the game that maybe that athlete's not doing? And that's something that,
Mm,
that's why I think the mental performance coaching and working with mindset and really
mm.
developing your ability to be mindful, your ability to reflect, your ability to observe and absorb information is super important. Daniel, I want to kind of stop the conversation here because I want to lead into more conversations down the line. Where do you think that
Awesome.
people can find you? DLE Event Group, what is like your website? Where can they find you on
Yeah.
social media? Um,
Sure. Sure. Yeah. So DLE Event Group, that's our events business. DLEeventgroup.com. I do have a personal brand site that we just launched within the last several weeks, DanielLinares.com. So my last name is Linares. So it's DanielLinares.com. And, that website's a lot about me as, some of the areas that I'm passionate about as a speaker, as a podcast guest, and also a podcast that I'm starting myself as well. But yeah, man, I just, it's been such a pleasure speaking with you today, Jake.
No, absolutely. Listen, I really like I'm so very happy that we were able to connect and like sit down and really get to know each other. Again, like just being in the industry, I'm telling you, it's one of the it's been a struggle for me to find other people like-minded or people that are older that are willing to express wisdom and share. And something that I grabbed from our conversation is just constantly being a student of the game. I
Mm,
think being a student of the game and constantly learning from other people that have been
mm,
successful, that have done it, I think that is something that is going to help us all elevate, not only as
that's right.
athletes, but just as individuals, as people, and as leaders. And yeah, thank you so much for hopping on here. Again, I gain inspiration from you. I feel like after this conversation, both conversations that I had with you, immediately it's like, okay, I learned something new. Now, how can I apply that? But it's in the
Mm,
reflection. It's in the
mm,
reflection that's going to really like, because not all the time do we grab the lesson in moment. It's when we're note taking, it's when we reflect after the conversation that all of a sudden like a light bulb flicks. So that's something
mm.
that definitely outside of this conversation, I'm going to do some deep reflecting within myself and different things that I've learned. And then I'm going to apply a lot of lessons that I learned from you today, because I definitely think that something that you talked about, the FUD, the SFT, those different
Mhm.
acronyms, as far as like feeling that sense of fear, uncertainty, doubt, but yet like trusting
Yeah.
the process that you are on and
Leaning
trusting the
into it
guidance.
anyway. Leaning into it anyway.
I think that's so
That
important, especially
that's it.
nowadays too. Leading
Yep.
into and going
I'm
for it.
scared. I'm scared in my sport. I'm about trusting it, just leaning into it. Up, if you don't get the result you want, what can I learn from that? How can I improve with people around me? Get better for next time. 100%, man. Yeah, just I what I was going to say is you are capable of more than you think you're capable of. And so give yourself permission, whoever's listening to this, and this is for you as well, Jake. Give yourself permission to use your imagination of what's possible in your life. Because I've met people that started as a Cheesecake Factory server and now own an island. Why? Because she embraced the guide, the feeling of
Embrace.
being guided. She learned from great people around her. Yeah, her name is Brittany Turner. She entrepreneur. She got into the real estate game and figured it out. But like we are capable of more than what we believe we are capable of. So with that said, how could you dream outside of what you think you're capable of and say, and cast that 80% good enough? Wow, it's scary. It's way out there. I don't know how I'm going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And lean into it and say, all right, well, what rooms can I be in? What people could I talk to about how something like this could be possible? Because you don't need to figure out alone. That's really what I've learned in life is you do not need to learn it alone. Stop sitting down and saying, and being hard on yourself and saying, I've never done this. I don't know how to do this. What environments can you put yourself in to, now that you have that big vision that you could talk about? Hey, Jake, tell me about yourself. Like, let's say you went to a Tony Robbins event, which I highly recommend anybody go to, by the way. I went to 3 or 4 and it changed my life. It changed my business, changed my relationship. Like I could go on and on with Tony Robbins. He's helped a lot of people that I know personally. But that was like the domino for me to get permission to learn all these ways of thinking bigger. And Tony, he didn't invent everything either. He's passing stuff down from his mentors, right? So it's all
absolutely
people just serving and pouring back into the next.
And that's really the domino effect of life, is just us learning from people that are before us, that are more experienced. And then after learning, we go share with the younger generations. And I think that that's really great for our spiritual health and wellness. When you think about spiritual, learning from our elders, learning from the more experienced, accepting wisdom, it goes back into, though, being open, having that abundance mindset, and really taking it in and kind of absorbing information, and then also having the care and the will to then express to other people. Daniel, thank you so much for expressing your wisdom, expertise, and your knowledge with us. I really appreciate you being here, and I'd love to have you back on soon.
Jake, it was a pleasure. I would love to come back at some point. And yeah, if there's somebody out there that, the reason why I wanted to reach out to you and to share some value, if we could help just one person on this call, that's what I feel life is all about.
That's all that matters.
Contribution and giving and serving. So it was such a joy being here, man. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being part of the conversation today. I am Jake Murphy, and this is the Mind and Body Performance Podcast. We'll see you next time.